When do you get over it? My girlfriend and I had been living together for a couple of years when I started working third shift at a hotel in a bigger city about 20 miles from where we lived. I saw it as a foot in the door to a better job and thought it would take about a year to get promoted to a daytime job. A year came and went and I was still working third shift. She was working days at a preschool for low-income families located in a large subsidized housing complex. Working third shift was tough on our relationship. I was working a lot of weekends, so if we went out or went to a party, I had to leave early. Unless I was off. We only saw each other in the evening and only slept together 2 days a week. We were having less and less sex and more little arguments about pointless stuff. She started bringing home these twin 3-year-old girls from work. Occasionally, saying their father was having some issues picking them up on time. She said he was a real nice guy and a great father, so she was helping him out. If they were there when I woke up in the evening, I would give them horsey-back rides and swing them around while she was making dinner. We even dropped them off at his apartment on our way out to dinner a few times. One Saturday night we were supposed to go to a movie before I went to work. A half hour before showtime, she called to say that her horse was sick and she was waiting for the vet. Since I had already bought the tickets, I went alone and sat next to an empty chair. When the movie was over, I called to see if I should stop by the stable. She said the vet had come and gone, so she had went to her friend Linda's house for dinner. I went home, got ready to go to work, and decided to drive by Linda's place on my way to work. Linda's car was there but my girlfriend's car was not. As I was driving by, she called and told me she was still at Linda's, to have a good night at work, and that she loved me. She'd been hard to find sometimes, but this was the first time I knew for certain that she was lying to me. Following a hunch, I drove by the twins' father's apartment and, sure enough, my wife's distinctive yellow Toyota was parked outside. I don't really remember the drive to work and I was so distracted and upset when I got there the night manager pulled me into her office to find out what was going on. I told her I had some personal issues, so she said to finish a couple of things and go home. I left at about 3 in the morning and swung by the guy's place. Her car was still there. When I got to the condo we rented, I parked my car a couple of blocks away. The only window in our condo with a view of the parking lot was the one over the kitchen sink. So I stood there in the dark staring out the window as I slowly realized that she'd probably been cheating on me for weeks. I was so pissed off that I started fantasizing about telling her off when she got home and storming off. About telling everyone what a horse she was. When she walked in the door, though, I didn't do any of it. I still remember exactly what I said before starting to cry. "Do you still love me?" She walked up, hugged me, and started crying herself. We stayed up all day talking until I was so exhausted that she insisted we go to bed. I fell asleep clinging to her, and when she wasn't there when I woke up, I freaked out. Fortunately, she was in the living room on the phone. I had Sunday and Monday off and we stayed home all day on Sunday. We decided that she was not going to see him anymore and I was going to try to forgive her. She went to work on Monday and shocked the crap out of me by bringing the twins home. I hid in the bedroom with the door locked. When the guy came to pick them up, I came out and watched them through the kitchen window. After they put the girls in his truck, they stood and talked until he noticed me looking out the window. He quickly got in the truck and drove off. She came storming in and we had another angry, emotional conversation, but finally calmed down, decided to try to make things work. A week later, she called me from her job to tell me that someone had put sugar in his gas tank and asking me if I had anything to do with that. I told her angrily that if I was going to do anything to the son of a bitch, it would be way less childish and way more painful for him. That was the last conversation we ever had about the whole thing. That was over a year ago and I got promoted to a daytime job with better pay a couple of weeks later. The pandemic caused a lot of layoffs at the hotel, but I was able to keep my daytime job. The preschool was closed for a few months as well. We've been seriously discussing a big wedding once the pandemic has completely passed. Every once in a while, my mind flashes back to that time and I get so depressed that she'll ask me what's wrong. I don't tell her the real reason. I make something up and then try to act more cheerful. Since the preschool reopened, I find myself wondering how much she's seeing of the guy. I have never told anyone else about what happened. I don't want my friends and family to think any less of her. I just want to put it behind me. How long does it take to really put something like this behind you? A few things I've learned as a BS betrayed spouse and having spent over 5 years on SI surviving infidelity. 1 - cheaters lie. There is almost certainly more to the story than what you know. 2 - by not dealing with the pain and trauma of her betrayal, you will continue to be stuck in the early stages of grief. Why don't you want to tell her you're still hurting? She should be told. And in a healthy relationship, you should feel safe to tell her, and she should be willing to hear you by owning what she has done to you and your relationship. You can't just put it behind you, as we often say on SI. The only way out is through. A cheater who isn't willing to deal with what they've wrought is a very poor prospect as healthy partner going forward. 3 - the pick-me dance is never a good idea. 4 - she's effectively had no consequences. You're suffering in silence. And she is still working where she's still in contact with him. No. Sorry to be so upfront. But why would you want to be with her? As an aside, why shouldn't her friends and your family think less of her? She doesn't deserve to have her reputation protected. She knew her actions would be hurtful to you, and yet she did them anyway. Think about that. You need to confront that is exactly who she is. 5 - recovery from betrayal takes, on average, 3-5 years, but sometimes less. Or, not uncommonly, more. In my experience is that it changes you and you can never quite go back to who you were before. But however long it takes, true healing isn't going to come if you just try to remain in denial or sweep it under the rug. 6 - do not marry this person. Not anytime soon. Anyway, you might think that being married will somehow protect you from more pain. But dude, that's not how it works. You'll be bringing it right into the marriage. And she'll still be the person who did this awful thing without taking ownership and working on being a better person. It's a recipe for disaster, only with the added inconvenience of discovering that divorce is a lot harder and more expensive than just breaking up. Kids, debt, etc. They're not going to magically make her a faithful and mature partner. In fact, without you two spending a lot of time measured in several years, not weeks or months, and effort, individually and then together, addressing what she did, your future marriage will be on a collision course with failure. I won't tell you to leave her, although that's what I think you should do. But I am going to tell you that staying with someone who has betrayed you takes a lot of work for both of you. And from what you've shared here, neither of you has done any of that work. My final bit of hard-won wisdom is that it's important to have boundaries. And also, that you can love someone and still realize that it's not going to work out. About halfway through the story he started calling her his wife, so I am guessing he did get married. Why are you still with that trash? Dump her ass and kick her out. It's not as easy as it seems. But I kinda agree with you. If she cheated once, the second time is only easier. Yeah, he's just setting himself up for failure now. Just gonna wait for the divorce update and how he's about to lose everything. I don't want my friends and family to think any less of her. While it is really nice of you to think this way, you should really understand that she never cared about that or you. She just wanted to cheat on you. Leave you. She didn't care about you or your feelings. If I have to guess, then I would say that you never seriously worked through what she did. Never read books about how to overcome infidelity. Never went to counseling. Never learned to deal with your triggers. Never went to a doctor and got tested for STDs. Instead, all you learned was that she accused you of filling sugar in his gas tank instead of standing up to whoever told her that. By the way, who told her that? Instead of dealing with this betrayal, you rewarded her by marrying her. She had an affair and it was a purely positive experience for her. She humiliated you and enjoyed every second of it. She even made it after you caught her when she brought his kids home and wanted to show you how much more important her AP is than you, who just found out that she had this affair. She even escorted him to his car while you stood there and watched. While she knew that you were there and watched. How to leave this behind? Leave her behind. Man, this says it all. OP, what this guy says is the truth. It's been 2.5 years for me since I found out. Convinced myself that we could try again because he's trying harder, and we even went for couples therapy. Despite his increased efforts, the fear never went away and the relationship could never go back to what it was before. Much resentment and many fights later, I got together with a friend who I have great chemistry with. And while the worry sneaks in sometimes, there is no pain when I look at him. Only reassurance. Some things, when broken, are better left that way. Cuck-a-doodle-doo. This. Why is she still working at the daycare? She doesn't still bring his kids home, does she? She doesn't. I am not sure they still go there. I stay away because I never want to see him again. Ever. How can you not ask if they still go there? You have a right to know if they are still in contact. She has no idea of just how badly she hurt you. But somehow, she expects you to get over it quickly. And that you'll go through with a wedding. If you marry her, you're buying into a lying, deceitful, manipulative wife and all the heartache and pain that she's going to bring to your life. Not might bring. Will bring. She's already shown you her character. And it's not good for you. She's proven that she's not trustworthy. That you aren't as high on her priority list as a quick thrill. How the hell do you or she think you'll ever be able to fully trust her again? Run. Do not walk away from her. Do not marry her. Dude. I am sorry to tell you this will never end in the back of your mind. Then from your writing it is clear that you are dependent on her. This thing you made her go through almost in silence. Without her having to pay any consequences and almost with the terror that she would go away. She must have had that fear. Not you. Now you talk about marriage. But it's so clear that she doesn't respect you and that she can easily lie to you until the moment you find out. It will do it again and again and you will go crazy. You must tell her that you have decided to close and carry on the matter. Then possibly, further on, if her will give you clear signs of remorse, trust, love and passion, this is very important. Believe me. Then you can also possibly rethink it, but you don't have to tell her. You have to pass it as if it were a final decision. But the impression you give me is that you will never do it because you are terrified of losing her and she knows it and will use it. Just to clarify a couple of things. She said that she had already agreed to take care of the girls that day and didn't want them to have any issues that day, and that she was telling the guy she couldn't watch them anymore. She didn't really accuse me of putting sugar in his gas tank. Just asked. Still pissed me off. Though, she agreed to let me put a tracking app on her phone. I have never found any evidence at all that she is cheating, and, believe me, I have looked. The question isn't if she is cheating right now on you. The question is, when will it happen again? Look at it like this. A kid steals a lolly and gets caught. The parents make the kid apologize to the shop owner. Ground the kid for a week and have an honest and direct conversation with the kid. Why stealing is not okay. A different kid steals a lolly and gets caught. The kid says sorry after it ate the lolly. The parents are overwhelmed by what the kid did and that's it. Which of the two kids will more likely steal a lolly again? What are the main differences in between what happened with the kids after they stole a lolly? Hit like. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to our channel.